So everyone, the third episode of the Magia anime has aired. I'm gonna go over the episode very quick. There won't be any spoilers for the game story. If you want to see some differences and what the game story did compared to the anime story, stay tuned for the spoiler video. If it's already out, it's linked in the description. So we start out the third episode with Toka and Nemu in a hospital together with Ui, and we see that Toka is pretty much a brat, rather spoiled, and she seems very intelligent though. We also see Nemu, who also seems rather intelligent, and Ui is just sort of there and he tries to keep everyone together, but Toka just completely destroys everything, and Toka and Nemu threaten to break up their friendship. We then see that Iroha goes back to Kamihama, where we finally see, finally, we see hair down Momoko. What a great achievement this is. They then go and visit Mitama, who currently is making Mayu moan, but don't worry, Mayu is 18, so it's fine. They then bring in Yachiyo because they want to have Yachiyo's help to help save Kaede, who has been taken away at the end of the episode that came before this. And Yachiyo shows off her book that has the plot convenient information in it, so the book just basically tells everyone what they need to know. And we also see, very importantly, that Mitama is combing Momoko's hair, so they seem to have a rather close connection. These two seem to be rather intimate. We also see that Iroha probably gets adjusted. They quickly show that apparently if you get adjusted by Mitama, which basically means that she fondles your soul gem and then something happens, you might be able to use the connect. But we don't actually see her doing that to Iroha, but we can just assume that Iroha sort of had this treatment, now she can do connect or whatever that is. We then see that finally the team heads out to the breakup staircase to try and figure out what is going on there and maybe lure out the rumor to then fight it. And what happens is Yachiyo and Momoko, they both inscribe their name onto the breakup staircase, and I guess they just gonna go through the motions and do the same thing that Reina did earlier, to try and see if maybe they can summon the rumor again. And we then see transformations, which I really don't care about. They're fine, I guess. Okay. I'm all about Madoka Magica, but like the most magical girl thing about the entire anime, both this one and Madoka Magica, which is the transformations, is like the one thing I care the least about. They then go to the roof and they try to basically do what Kaede did, which is try to apologize and repair their friendship. But it somehow doesn't work, because apparently they're not being sincere in trying to fix up their relationship. So then Reina goes all tsundere again and refuses to apologize to Kaede, while also somehow apologizing to Kaede and basically speaking her mind again. And it is within speaking her sincere, heartfelt emotions about Kaede that she triggers the rumor again. And the Uwasa appears and tries to attack all the people, but not before we get this really weird sequence that basically dives into the state of mind of Reina and shows us a little bit of her backstory and just how much she hates herself. We then see that Kaede is just there and she's fine. So I guess she wasn't forced to clean the stairs forever. She doesn't seem to do any cleaning right there. Didn't they say last episode that they're forced to clean the stairs forever? And she's just looking fine? Whatever. Don't worry about that. Because next up we get fights. Rina and Kaede connect and everyone is doing the fighting. And Mokyu appears as well and jumps around and then later disappears again. For some reason. But it's okay, because they defeat the Uwasa, the rumor, together. Everyone is fine again. No one died, which is fine. And everyone makes up again. Everyone reconciles. Kaede and Reina are friends again, or servants, I guess. And that's basically how this entire thing ends, with the last bit of scene that we get is that Reina went to the hospital using her transformation power to transform into a nurse. And we see that she didn't really find anything. She just found out that, yeah, Toka and Nemo, they exist. And they were in there. That's basically all she found out. So that didn't really work out that well for Iroha, but you know what? I'm certain she's gonna be able to find out some more information soon. Next up then, we see the ending again, and there's absolutely no special scene after the ending that definitely didn't show a character that everyone was talking about, and that I personally think shouldn't be talked about as much as people talk about, because this is not Magia. This is Magia record, and everyone's just talking about this bit. Everyone's just talking about this instead of in ignoring all the entire rest. So, you know, people say, well, the reason they bring in characters like Mami, like the other rest of the Puel Magi Holy Quintet, is so that people have something to latch onto and to bring more people in. But I think in this case, it just works too well, where suddenly everyone is spamming about that little... Like, it was the same thing in the first episode, where at the very end, during the opening, there's this one shot of the Puel Magi Holy Quintet. Guess what everyone talked about? That scene. People didn't actually talk about the anime itself. Now, I don't think that, at least so far, the anime is better or even as good as the original Puella Madoka Magica. It's really not on the same level as quality quite as much, but it still has its own niche that it's trying to go for. It still has its own merits, right? So can we maybe talk about those merits, or maybe we can give some criticism, because I have some criticism about this episode. But can we talk about that stuff instead of just gushing about, oh my god, did you see? Mami was in there. Wow, it was not like 10 seconds there, whatever. Anyway, what did I think about the episode? I think might be the first episode, well, it's only been 3 so far. This is the first episode where I feel like the focus and the pacing was completely off. Like, I think I said in the second episode that there were some problems with the pacing, but in here it's even worse. We saw in the end of episode 2 that we had this dramatic cliffhanger. And of course, a lot of anime or just shows in general do this, where they show a cliffhanger and they don't immediately resolve it in the next episode, they go somewhere else first. But usually, you still have the cliffhanger hanging over all the characters. All the characters are still worried about this cliffhanger right at the beginning of the next episode, probably. But in here we have this seemingly out of nowhere non sequitur cutaway to another vision that Iroha has, who is now at home. And you would think to yourself, something terrible just happened to Kaede. Why is the very next scene that we see Iroha at home? It feels like there's something missing. I talked to other people as well, and people told me, I thought there was a scene, I thought I skipped the scene, or I thought I turned the episode on like a few minutes too late, and I missed the first scene that came before this. Because it seems like there should be some sort of scene that continues, maybe not continues from the cliffhanger, but at least ties back to the cliffhanger, references the cliffhanger, even if it's just Rina going the next day like, oh man, I'm sad that Kaede is gone. Even if that was just like a 5-second scene, I feel like that would have been great, but no, it's just completely somewhere different. And you would think, okay, maybe now they're gonna go for it. And then no, they kind of meet up and talk about the rumor, but everyone seems rather not too phased about this. One of their friends just got dragged away and is maybe dead because they don't know what according to the rumor, they're gone forever. That's what they know from the rumor, and they still seem rather chill about it. They just go to Mitama and is like, okay, hey, let me introduce Mitama to you and let me talk about all of this stuff, and I don't know. Momoko just sort of gets her hair combed, which, I mean, is cool, but like I said, it sort of doesn't, the focus and the tone seems to be a bit off. I was expecting, from just a dramaturgical standpoint, that there should be a lot more tension. There's so much tension from the end of the last episode. It's such a dramatical high point where you're at the climax, and then suddenly half of this episode is like the complete opposite. It's like everyone chilling, basically. I thought that really didn't go well at all. And then suddenly, bam, they're in the middle of a fight, and they beat the Uwasa in like a minute. I don't know, it felt really off. I think one of the reasons why I think it also felt off is because at the end of episode 2, or rather in general with episode 2, we thought that they wanted to make the story rather simple and straightforward and not chaotic at all. They wanted to make sure you could focus on Team Kamori, that you could get a good understanding of who these characters are, and that then it would lead into the Uwasa. Like, now we know these characters, and now we're going into the Uwasa. Now we're going into the rumor stuff, and it seemed like now in episode 3 they're going to explore the rumor stuff. We're not going to worry about what are Uwasa, why do these rumors work the way they do. We're going to try and explore that a bit more, and they did go into some of it with trying to explain how this specific rumor, this breakup staircase rumor, worked, but we don't really know anything at all about rumors in general. We just know they're not witches, you can't really detect them, and they only activate during specific specific conditions are met. But it really felt like they had a lot more opportunity to go a lot more into this thematic instead of completely sidelining it and being like, you know what, let's go back to introducing more characters and let's go back to talking more about the characters instead of now taking these characters into this new thematic. So I gave episode 2 a bit too much credit then maybe, because I thought they were just going to continue down that line, but now it seems like they took a step back and made it chaotic again. I don't know, it just feels really weird for me. In general, it feels like they spent a bit too much focus, maybe, like I said, on the characters instead of worrying about the overall story and plot, because we're now in episode 3 and we still don't know that much or anything about the overall plot. Now, we didn't know that much about the overall plot in episode 3 of Madoka Magica either. Well, Madoka Magica, in the first 3 episodes, was going for something completely different. It was going for this switcheroo. It was trying to give you a completely different tone than what the rest of the anime was supposed to be. And then you have this shock at the end of episode 3 that then reveals to you this is what the anime is about. But in here, it feels like they spent now 3 episodes introducing characters, and the one time where it really gave us the opportunity to explore what is actually going on in this town and what these weird Uwasa actually are, they just don't spend that much time on it at all, and instead spend even more time on the characters. I feel like this might backfire, because the problem is something that I already mentioned before a lot of times. There are just too many characters in Manga Record in general, and the anime is going to try and make it nicer. The anime is going to reduce the amount of characters that are in there. It's going to try and make it less chaotic, but there's still just so many characters in there. Even if they go through with having 26 episodes, which at this point we don't know. We know for certain it's 13 episodes for now, but we don't know if they're going to make a second season with 30 more episodes. We don't know that. They probably will, though. So even if they have all the 26 episodes, they still won't have enough time to give all of these characters enough care and attention as you did in Madoka Magica. So instead, I thought, okay, we're just going to make sure that we know stuff about these central characters. We're going to focus on the central characters, maybe have some stuff about the side characters, and then just focus on the individual arcs. Like this was now an arc that we have with the breakup staircase. I thought they would focus more on this specific arc, making sure that we actually use this arc to explore the overall plot. But they didn't really explore the overall plot with this episode at all, but they went really hard on the characters. Which, if they weren't this many characters, if there were only like 5 characters, let's say there was only Iroha, Yachio, and Team Kamore, if there were only these 5 characters in all of Magia Record, I'd be like, yeah, this is really good. This is really good that they're focusing on these many characters. But I know that they won't be able to give all these characters the depth that they need. So I feel like still trying to do it, still spiting what you know won't work, and trying to still do it, I feel like that's gonna really, really fail down the line. Like, I feel like 10 episodes from now, this is, or I don't know how many episodes from now, but I feel like down the line, this is gonna hurt them. I think it's gonna hurt them trying to still, in spite of everything, still focus that much on the characters. That's basically my thought on episode 3 so far. Basically just to bring it all to a point, they tried to go back from the dramatic tension point to try and introduce more characters, to focus more on characters instead of going over on the overall plot, which is probably what they should have done. Now that last episode they introduced new characters and could have just went with these characters for the rest of the arc. Instead, they introduced more characters before the arc was even over instead of doing it after the arc and focusing more on the arc. I don't know. So I think this is easily the weakest episode so far, and probably most people will agree. But hey, we have a new arc probably starting next episode, who knows? So hopefully that will work out better, who knows? That was it, I hope you guys enjoyed it. See you guys for the spoiler review, because there's a lot of stuff to talk about in the spoiler review for this, where I talk about the game story and compare this to the game story, because there's a lot of stuff. I mean, I already talked a lot about the stuff that's happening in this episode, but there's so absolutely goddamn much that I need to talk about that it's gonna go for the spoiler episode, because there's so much to talk about in the differences video. It's gonna take a while to get it out. Like, usually it takes me like 10 hours. It might take me more than 10 hours this time. Yeah, wait for that. Once it's done, I'm gonna link it below in the description. See you guys next time.